Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us today for our July 1st rate adjustment webinar, where we'll discuss important information about the upcoming rate adjustment. My name is Matt Danielson, an administrator here at Eversource, and I'll be the moderator during today's presentation. Before we begin, I just have a few housekeeping items to review, and then I'll turn it over to Jeff Pugliese, who will start off the presentation. But first of all, we'd like to remind everyone that today's webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent in a follow-up email within the next couple of days. The follow-up email will also contain a link to a brief webinar satisfaction survey that's looking for your feedback on today's webinar. So of course, we appreciate any responses we may receive there. The last housekeeping item I have to review is just regarding today's Q&A. So throughout the presentation, the audience will remain muted. However, you can submit any questions you have at any point during the presentation by using the Q&A function. And we'll address these questions at the end of the presentation where we've allotted some time for a Q&A. So we encourage you to submit any questions you have, and we'll be happy to try to answer as many as we can. However, if there are any questions we can't answer during the Q&A, or if there are any functionality issues within the Q&A that makes you unable to ask your questions live during the webinar, we ask that you follow up with your community relations specialist, and they'll be happy to work with you to get an answer. And that covers our housekeeping items. So now I'll hand it over to Director of Community Relations, Jeff Pugliese, who will begin today's presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. As Matt mentioned, my name is Jeff Pugliese. I'm Director of Community Relations for Eversource here in Connecticut. It's certainly my pleasure to welcome you to this important webinar for municipal officials. We're also proud to have members of the General Assembly on with us today. We have legislative staff and other partners. And our focus today is the upcoming electric rate adjustment that is effective July 1st. I've certainly had the opportunity to meet many of you at your respective city and town halls throughout the state, and I've enjoyed those meetings very much and certainly learned a lot. And we look forward to providing you with a very productive session this afternoon. Before I yield the floor here, I just want to let you know I am joined by three of my Eversource colleagues who will be leading the presentation. Our first speaker will be our Director of Revenue Requirements on the regulatory side, and that's Marissa Peruta. Marissa will discuss the drivers behind the rate increase. She will explain the public benefits portion of the bill and will give you some insight into the timing as we come up on July 1st. We also have our Manager of Hardship Programs and Protections, Teresa Washington, who will discuss the programs that are available to assist our customers, who are, of course, your residents and your constituents. And our final speaker will be Devin Williamson, who is a Community Engagement Specialist in our Energy Efficiency Department. And Devin will discuss the options for customers to save through energy efficiency. We also have Ann Beadle on hand this afternoon. Ann is with our Strategic Accounts team, and she'll be able to answer questions about commercial and industrial accounts, including municipal accounts, because we are keenly aware that this rate adjustment coincides with the start of a new fiscal year for our municipal partners. So as Matt mentioned, we will keep track of all the questions that are submitted into the Q&A portal, and we will address each of them after our speakers have presented their material. So I thank you again very much for attending this afternoon. It is my pleasure now to turn the program over to my colleague, Marissa Peruta. Welcome, Marissa.
Thank you, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all today. As indicated, the purpose of what I'm going to cover on today's webinar is an effort to help educate all of the participants in understanding, number one, what is happening to the July 1st rates. Number two, what are the drivers to the July 1st rate increase? Number three, how will this impact our average residential, commercial, and industrial customer? And then number four, the proposed solutions that we have brought to the table during our current annual proceeding in front of the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. And I'm going to be referring to them as PURA going forward. So let's go ahead and start with an example of a residential customer bill. Here, what you're seeing on the screen is an actual bill of one of our customers who used 660 kilowatt hours. The electric bill is broken down into four general buckets of costs that you see on the screen. The first one being the electric supply, the second one being public benefits, the third is local delivery, and then the fourth is transmission. So I'm just going to quickly walk you guys through that. The supply charge in the first one recovers the electricity that is generated, which we don't own, we don't purchase. This is power that we purchase on behalf of our customers and pass those costs through. This charge is entirely based on market price of electricity. We are required to offer our customers a supply charge option, and it's called standard service for our residential customers. The standard service rate does change twice a year, so it changes on January 1, and it also changes on July 1 for those standard service residential customers. So that is coming up in a couple of weeks. Since we don't own or operate generation, we do buy the electricity on behalf of our standard service customers. That is from a competitive electric supply market, and we do not earn a profit or any type of pass-through earnings on that. We charge our standard service customers only for the electricity that they use, no more, no less. Customers do have the right to choose an electric supplier for their generation supply charge, and we do encourage customers to go ahead and log on to energizect.com, which is a website that you can go to regularly to look up the most recent electric supply rates offered by competitive suppliers. And this is an effort to really make the right decision for your households. This section that is referred to as the supply cost, that's going to be color coded as dark blue throughout this presentation. The second charge on the residential customer's bill is the public benefits charge. This portion of the bill includes costs to support state policies and programs that we administer on behalf of the state of Connecticut, as well as programs that are designed to help our customers who face difficulty in paying their electric bills. And Teresa Washington is going to talk about that a little bit later. Here's where we have the costs associated with purchasing renewable and zero carbon contracts, such as the Millstone nuclear power plant here in the state of Connecticut, and also the Seabrook nuclear power plant, and the power purchase agreements that are related with both of those nuclear generation facilities. In addition, there's energy efficiency generation, rooftop solar, purchase power, and various other renewable energy programs that flow through this section of the bill. These state policy contracts focusing on renewable energy have been initiated over the course of several years and even going back a couple of decades by the state of Connecticut to help use renewable sources to mitigate the volatility that's caused by those market-based energy supply costs that I mentioned before. So essentially, there's certain contracts that have been entered into that act as a hedge in this section of the bill when compared to the supply cost section of the bill. Also, through this charge, we collect the costs associated with hardship customers and the new low-income discount rate that just became effective December of 2023 for qualifying customers. Again, the public benefit costs are pass-through costs that we generally do not make a profit, and this is going to be color-coded as the orange as provided on this sheet. Third, the local delivery charge primarily relates to our delivery cost to provide safe and reliable service to our customers, and this portion of the bill recovers the cost to invest, maintain, and operate our distribution infrastructure. And fourth and the last charge you'll see there in the green, this is the transmission charge, and this recovers the cost to invest, maintain, own, and operate our regional transmission infrastructure, which includes high voltage transmission towers, cables, and related transmission equipment. This portion of the bill is regulated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. I also wanted to highlight at the bottom in yellow there with the star, you'll see that the public benefits charge that I described in orange, that is going to increase from about $12 a month for the average residential customer to about $59 a month starting July 1st. Again, it's just that portion of the bill. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at what is driving that increase. Next slide. Thanks, Matt. So what rates are changing and what are the public benefit costs that are increasing? So there's an annual process that's called the rate adjustment mechanism where we present to PURA the changes to costs from last year. Most of these costs are passed through to customers, as I indicated before, with no profit or markup. And these rates are typically changed on May 1, with some adjustments made later on September 1 once PURA completes the full process. This year, the changes in costs are predominantly in the public benefits programs. And there's two main drivers for the change in public benefits. First, there are contracts that we administer that are supply related and tied to market prices for electricity. And the two largest ones that I already mentioned are Millstone and Seabrook nuclear power purchase agreements. As I mentioned earlier, these contracts serve as a hedge with utility prices. So since the start of the contracts, there have been times when electricity prices have been high. And these contracts have actually produced significant benefits for our customers. Last year, energy market prices came down, and the good news is that the supply charge came down for customers. but then the costs for these contracts went up. So these contract costs specifically are in a component called the non-bypassable federally mandated congestion charge portion of public benefits, and that represents about 70% of the cost increase. The other main driver is we have programs in place for our hardship customers I already mentioned, and these customers are those who are challenged in paying their bills, and we have not been able to pursue collection activities from those customers as a result of a moratorium in place in Connecticut since COVID began, and that was about 4.5 years ago. Without that ability to take action, those costs have increased significantly, and they were quite large last year. That moratorium was just lifted this month, or excuse me, in May, so just about a month ago, and we can now begin pursuing collection activities. Also in December of 2023, we began the low-income discount rate program for the same pool of customers, and those individuals will now receive a discount on their bill, and those costs are included for the first time this year. So these costs combined are in the system's benefit charge portion of public benefits, and that represents almost 30% of the cost increase. So in total, the public benefits charged increased $47 a month for the average residential customer as a result of these costs. The remaining rate adjustment mechanism components that relate to our infrastructure had a net impact of less than 1% on the bill, or about a $1 increase a month for the average residential customer. And that's the bottom blue and green below in those two bubbles at the bottom of the slide. Next slide, please. How will the rate changes look on the residential customer bill as of July 1st? I had mentioned that the rate adjustment mechanism results in rate changes on May 1, but this year PURA did agree for us to apply the rate increase on July 1 instead of May 1, and that was to align with a significant decrease in our standard service rate that applies to residential customers that are on standard service, and that will take effect on July 1, as I indicated. Here we break down on the left side the charges that are flowing through the average residential customer's bill who is on standard service, and aligns with the example bill that we showed earlier on a previous slide. And you'll see in the left graph there, the standard service rate today is costing the average customer about $103 per month, and that's in the dark blue. The public benefit is $12 a month, and that's in the orange. The transmission charge is $29 a month, and that's in green. And then you have the local delivery charge, which is $60 a month, and that's in the light blue. So in total, the average standard service residential customer is paying about $204 a month today. And then if you look to the right there and you see the chart there, starting July 1st, the standard service rate is expected to come down for the average residential customer to about $63 a month in total. And this is because the kilowatt hour rate is decreasing from just under 15 cents a kilowatt hour to just under 9 cents a kilowatt hour. That's in the dark blue. Then you have the public benefit, which is increased to the $59 per month for the average residential customer for the reasons I described earlier. That is in the orange. The transmission and local delivery charges, those two, which is in the green and the light blue, that is increasing a combined total of $1 per month. And that is what is supporting Eversource's infrastructure. So in total, the average standard service residential customer using 700 kilowatt hours per month will see their monthly bill increase from $204 per month to $212 per month starting July 1st. So that is about an $8 increase when you take all of the different components together. Next slide, please. Thank you, Matt. So we provided an example of how the average residential customer on standard service is impacted, and that's described on the left, which I talked through very, very concisely in the last slide, so I won't get into that. But the question now is how will the rate change impact our other customers? So for those customers who have elected and already use a competitive electric supplier, so again, the customers that do not take standard service, those customers will see an increase of about $48 a month starting July 1. $47 is related to the public benefits charge I described, and $1 is related to the portion of the bill for Eversource's infrastructure. Again, we do encourage all customers to go on to energizect.com and take advantage of any opportunity they can to save on their supply portion of the bill. And then, as I mentioned earlier, again, just the portion of the bill related to public benefits, it is increasing, and it will also apply to our commercial and industrial customers. However, the impact will not be as, I'll say, transparent on the bill because we don't break it out in that fashion in the C&I customers bill. But on average, we do expect that the large C&I customers will see about a 57% increase to the delivery portion of the bill, which again is predominantly the result of the public benefits charge I described. We also want to highlight that for our businesses and our C&I customers, we know they want predictability in the rates. When we look at the costs that drive this increase, it is a catch-up effect of costs from 2 years ago. We also want to be able to provide predictability in rates to customers. So we see that this is a pancaking of costs from last year into this year. So I'll explain how we are hoping to solve these issues where we are hopeful that there will not be rate shock into the future because of what has occurred this year. But let me just stop quickly and say, in terms of customer outreach, we have started our campaign and have been doing so now for probably close to 2 months, I would say. We have been reaching out to our customers. We began with emails, bill messaging, bill inserts. Our customer service representatives have had the information now for several weeks when customers begin to call and ask questions. In addition to that, for our commercial industrial customers, our account executives have begun communicating these rate increases this week. And it's been actually several weeks now. So next slide, please. We are solutions-based and are trying to get back to a rate change process where we can have the rates reflect costs when they are incurred. So this year, a large part of the costs were pushed forward from last year in an effort to avoid large increases in rates last year. Because of the push forward, it did cause the costs to pile up this year. This pancake approach could have been avoided, and some of those costs could have been started to be reflected in rates last year. And we hope that we can begin to mitigate this going into the future. If we can better align the costs and the rate recovery, it will help to reduce the rate whiplash that we are experiencing this year. Volatility may still exist since the main driver of the supply and public benefit charges are based on market supply costs and things that are not predictable and at times cannot be measured or forecasted, and definitely with no level of precision. So even using forecasts for some costs will not create a bulletproof solution to creating an environment of real rate stability, but we do believe that this will help provide an environment where we will not see these significant rate increases and decreases in the future and have a more smoother roll in rate increases going forward into the future. Such a systematic approach will be where we will spend our time with PURA and other state agencies, such as the Office of Consumer Counsel, and we are looking forward to begin that process this year. We have already started communication and discussions internally and have our hopes that there will be a separate docket that will be opened so we can begin the process of looking at this annual rate mechanism. And one of the main concerns for us really is to ensure that costs are recovered concurrently with when those costs are incurred in the year that they are actually incurred, so that it avoids that effect of pushing these costs into the future. If we can achieve a more systematic rate treatment, we can prevent these large costs from building up and will help to avoid rate shock in the future. So this completes my portion of the presentation. Thank you again, and I'll turn it over, I think, to Teresa is next.
Thank you so much, Marissa. I appreciate that, and I appreciate our audience in spending this afternoon with us. I'll certainly begin when we talk about customer assistance. I want to share the options that are available to our customers. And before I do talk about these programs, I'm going to cover the whys, the who's, the how, and the what's of our programs and customer assistance. And before I do move further into that, there's so much information that is available for our customers, specifically online at eversource.com/billhelp, or by calling into our call center. If customers are struggling to pay their utility bill, we need to hear from them. Information is available to those customers, and we'll talk about ways that customers can help reduce their bills. So next slide. So the why should we help? The whys of this certainly is when we're providing customers with assistance programs, there's several benefits to that. From the customer standpoint, customers benefit from programs that help them pay down their past due balances over a period of time. The company certainly benefits when customers can pay down those balances. It does reduce costs that are passed on to other customers, which leads to a community benefit. It is all connected in that when there's programs that are available that help customers pay their bills, customers enroll and participate in these programs, they can afford to pay their bills, and it reduces the cost, again, paid by all ratepayers, and it ends up benefiting the communities that we serve. Now, who needs that help? 1 out of every 5 customers, they're behind on paying their energy bills, so there has to be options available to help customers. And that's what leads into the next slide. I'll talk quickly about some of the 2 main programs that are available to our customers. How we help our customers, we'll first start when we do speak to our customers, they go to their town or their social services, their community action agencies. We help our most vulnerable customers. They have to qualify. So customers may already be receiving public assistance benefits, but they must qualify for the program. So Eversource does follow state guidelines, and there's income restrictions for the programs. We follow 60% of state median income. When they qualify for the programs, one thing that they'll automatically receive on their electric side, and as Marissa discussed earlier, there's an automatic discount on that monthly electric bill. And customers that are heating or not heating on their utility side will receive discounts on that bill. There's either a 10% discount or 50% discount. Definitely depends on their total household income or the benefits that they're already receiving. Additionally, our financial hardship customers, once they qualify and we verify that they are meeting those guidelines to receive the benefits we're going to talk about, the programs that we're going to talk about, those customers have a choice, like any other customer, in using a third-party retail supply. So they can go out there and look at what these competitive suppliers cost, and if the cost is below the Eversource standard rate and not above, they certainly have a choice in that. And there's a discount available even on the supply portion of that. With receiving a discount, again, making the bills more affordable, there's discount programs through energy efficiency, saving money and energy in the home. And we do have someone that we're going to hand this over to after my presentation to talk about the energy efficiency programs. When customers are, again, we'll go through the cycle of qualifying, receiving a discount, learn about the discount programs, take advantage of those. There's balance forgiveness programs or arrears forgiveness. And we have a matching payment plan. We have a new start program. And then we want customers also to receive energy assistance. There are funds out there, customers that are already qualifying for assistance. They're receiving public assistance benefits. Customers need help with their heating bills. They would want to apply for energy assistance. And of course, if they're heating with the utility, that money is directly on their utility bill. There's also assistance available certain times of the year through Operation Fuel. And when customers are verified as meeting the qualifications for our programs, receiving a discount on their utility bill, enrolled and participate in these arrears forgiveness plans, they're protecting their utility service. They're maintaining that service and also reducing their bills. So it's really a great thing, and we really want to help educate our customers, help educate those that are on the call, for the residents that are in their communities to, learn about these programs, talk to us about these programs, participate in these programs, because overall there's a benefit there. Next slide. And speaking about the two programs that Connecticut does have, again, participating in these programs help maintain that utility service year round and reduces past due balances. So it's a win-win. Speaking about one program we have, the matching payment program, it lowers those energy bills. When customers are paying on this program, it's a dollar for dollar match. They receive energy assistance and on their utility bill. They'll also get a match for the energy assistance fund. So we'll subtract that from the amount they owed. You can see the benefit of this program here in Connecticut already. 35,000 customers are enrolled in this. So that speaks to the need that is out there, also speaks to the customers that are aware and taking advantage of these programs that help reduce the bill. We have the New Start program, also helps reduce that balance that customers come into this program in, and they can get that balance eliminated in as little as 12 months. Customers make payments. We'll also subtract from what they owe on their bills. So it's a you pay, we pay type program. This is for our electric customers, and we have nearly 49,000 electric customers that are enrolled in this. So customers are taking advantage of these programs. If they are not familiar, maybe they're newly in need and weren't aware of these programs before. That's why we do want to make sure that our customers are educated, they're informed, they can go online, they can look at the information that we've been providing out to customers through mailings and different campaigns and outreach efforts, or through their municipalities who can provide information to them. So I'm happy to share this information with you all, and I hope you do share forward, and we'll be here later for questions. I'll now turn this over to Devin Williamson, who will talk about the energy. Thank you.
Everyone, thanks, Teresa. My name is Devin Williamson, Marketing Specialist for Community Engagement in Eversource's Energy Efficiency Department here in Connecticut. My presentation will briefly share energy efficiency opportunities for residential and commercial customers in your communities. Next slide. So Energize Connecticut is Eversource, Avangrid, Incorporated subsidiaries, Connecticut Natural Gas, Southern Connecticut Gas, United Illuminating, the Energy Efficiency Board, the Connecticut Green Bank, and the state who've united on a shared mission to provide Connecticut residents and businesses the resources that they need to save money and energy and use clean energy. The Energize Connecticut initiative empowers our communities to make smart energy choices both now and in the future. So first up is our residential programs. We have a number of programs that are designed to help residential customers to save money and energy, namely our Home Energy Solutions program for residents of single-family and 2 to 4 unit multifamily buildings. We also have programs for larger residential buildings through our multifamily initiative, residential new construction, virtual consultations and rebates for heat pumps and heat pump water heaters, available financing offers, and many other opportunities to save. We also have programs for our commercial and industrial customers, including small businesses and new construction. Municipal customers also fall into this category. There are many more details on our energy efficiency programs and incentives to share than time available. If you have questions, please review the guidance, the Eversource websites and the guidance that's at these sites, or call 877-WISE-USE. Thank you so much for your attention this afternoon, and I will now turn it back over to Jeff.
Thank you, Devin, very much. Thank you for those comments and for the content presented. Also, Teresa and Marissa, great job as always. And before we get into questions and answers here, I just want to remind everyone that your community relations specialist in your particular community is always available to you, always willing and able to be a resource any time of day to you and or your constituents. So feel free to take advantage of that resource, please. So transitioning into the question and answer portion of our webinar here this afternoon, feel free to go into the Q&A portal and type directly in if you have any questions. We do have a few that came in through email, so we'll start with those. I have two here. I think we'll go with Marissa for the first one and then Teresa for the second one. Marissa, there's a question here about the recovery period. And of course, we're in a new fiscal year as of July 1st for our municipal partners on the call today. And there's a question about what will happen to rates as of January 1st. And can we forecast or prognosticate in any way the impact on municipal bills or residential customer bills as of January 1st, 2025?
Yeah, I can definitely try to answer the January 1 of 2025, but as everyone knows, and as I mentioned during the presentation, it's very difficult to predict the costs of a market-based rate, which is the supply portion of the bill, of course. So the answer to the first part of the question is this particular RAM rate increase will go through April 30th of 2025. So that is a great question. There is an expectation that the rates effective January 1 of 2025, as is the case looking back on history and past precedents, that typically energy prices do go up during the winter. So the expectation is likely that once we complete the procurement process, which we are in the middle of right now, we go through a 10 tranche process to select. We put out solicitation bid and select the winning bidders for that procurement process for the energy supply portion of standard service. Once we complete that, we won't know until probably around mid to late November, and then PURA will approve it in December. That's when we will know the January 1 rates for our standard service customers. But what I can say and what I can offer to all of those listening, again, is based on history. Our January 1 rates typically do increase compared to the rates that go into effect July 1. And this rate will be in effect until April 30th of 2025. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Marissa. Appreciate that. This next one, I mentioned that we have Ann Beadle on. Ann is with our strategic account team. And Teresa, we'll get to your question in a moment here. But Ann, there's a question about estimating a municipal bill. Is there someone at Eversource or a resource available through the company that can provide estimates on municipal bills in this particular fiscal year that we're coming up upon? Can you help us with that, Ann?
Hi, Jeff. Yes. Hi, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Because usage and demand vary very widely for commercial customers and line item prices can vary between commercial rates, it is difficult to estimate the impact on an overall impact for the bill. But we can work one-to-one with anybody who would like to have your bill impact estimated. We do that based on your past electricity usage. So it's a pretty good indication unless you're going to have a lot of changes to your usage. I would suggest that if you contact your account executive or your community relations specialist, we will be able to discuss specific accounts and how they may be impacted by these increases.
Thank you. And that's true for commercial, industrial, and municipal accounts, Ann?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, this next one, let's try Teresa, a combination of Teresa and Devin. Do we have resources here at the company where folks can go out and actually do energy audits on site and then kind of tie in from the assessment that's done on site, a particular facility, with what might be available both from a customer support standpoint and also an energy efficiency standpoint? So Teresa, can you take that one first, if you don't mind?
I think maybe, Jeff, it'll be best first for our energy efficiency partners to start because of the question focused first on the home assessment part, and then I'll lead in, if you don't mind, Devin.
Nope, not at all. Devin, please.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. Our Home Energy Solutions program is offered in the market rate form that provides the home weatherization service and assessment. That assessment is $75. However, income eligible customers, if you qualify based on income, that service and assessment is actually afforded at no cost. And if you call 877-WISE-USE, you can learn more about how to sign up for an assessment and how to submit your income verification to qualify for the assessment at no cost. So that would be the first step for residential customers. And then for our commercial industrial customers, The Small Business Energy Advantage program is for small businesses. So that's essentially if your usage is less than 1 million kilowatt hours per year at your individual location. And customers can also sign up by calling 877-WISE Use to schedule and sign up for that no cost and no obligation assessment. During the assessment, our contractors who are vetted by the utilities go through the business, provide a whole basically a whole assessment on energy use and opportunities to save, upgrades that are available, and then they leave the customer with a basically a checklist about what they can do from there, and then from there, further upgrades may be vetted. We also have a commercial industrial program. Of course, our municipal customers would also fall into that category. And you can also call and get more information by calling 877-WISE Use and get connected with a contractor today.
Thank you, Devin. Teresa,
Thank
anything
you,
to add to that?
Yeah, and the reason I'll share why I did want to make sure our energy efficiency team started off with this is because they do getting a home assessment done, and they work with contractors to do that assessment directly in the home for renters and homeowners. And I'll speak, just for some general information because I am a homeowner as well, and I've had an energy assessment done, and I know there's great benefits in doing so. One of the qualifications for the income eligible program is if a customer is already verified or qualified as financial hardship, and we talked about meeting those state guidelines, 60% of the state median income, they would already qualify to receive the no cost or low cost energy assessment if there hasn't been one completed in that location in X amount of years. What we do partner with is our community action agencies. Many of the towns, the social services or human services department are also aware of our programs. And directly at the community action agency, many of them not only can help with the programs that we talk about today and other services and support that a customer might need just in their own life, but also they can have information about the weatherization services that are available with the utilities. So it's sort of a one-stop shopping. So that's where, I would direct a customer to go is right to their local community action agencies, just for that holistic approach to helping them not only with the direct utility bill assistance, helping them with their own needs, but also, if it needs to go into the weatherization and they have information about the programs that are provided by not only Eversource, but United Illuminating.
Great. Thank you both for that great answer here. This next one, I guess we'll go to a combination, hopefully, of Marissa and Ann here. We'll start with Marissa. Marissa, there seems to be some concern from our municipal and legislative partners out in the field about directing constituents to third-party suppliers. Seems to be some lingering concern about prepayment penalties, potential balloon payments. I know that's largely been cleaned up to the credit of PURA and the legislature, but can you talk about maybe some specifics of why it's such a good idea to at least pursue and investigate a third-party option?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think in the past, based on my understanding, EnergyCT.com had some questionable players out there in the energy industry, and as suppliers, like you said, Jeff, PURA has done an excellent job cleaning it up, as well as state agencies and legislators. So I think today, residential customers have a little bit more certainty and assurance to know that those that are providing competitive supply prices out on EnergyCT.com are reliable. From very recent changes in terms of like EnergyCT.com and the ability to solidify and procure a competitive supplier, residential customers no longer get penalized if they decide to transition back to standard service. So it is a much more risk-free process than it was maybe a couple of years ago. So yes, I mean, any person, any household should take the opportunity to go to energizect.com. If it makes sense to them to move to a competitive supplier for their household budget, they should look into it, contact the company that you are interested in, find out the terms and conditions of the contract. Make sure you ask the question, is there an early penalty withdrawal if they offer you like a 12-month fixed rate? It is likely that there is not, based on my understanding of what is being offered today in those competitive supplier type contracts. Of course, Eversource is not an expert in it. That is completely outside of what we do. But me as a household and as a household budget individual, I also look at energizect.com for our Connecticut electric bill to make sure that, in my household, we are taking advantage of the best prices. Prices swing all the time. That's the other thing is, that we just went through a period of time over the last 4 years where prices have swung up and down and have been volatile. That may continue into the future. We're not sure. No one really does because it is market based. So that is why we would expect folks to really take that upon themselves and their households to shop around and look for the best prices.
Thank you, Marissa. Ann, anything you'd care to add to that?
Well, for commercial and industrial customers, many of the larger customers will use an energy management provider. So they will go out and negotiate for the customer. That's always a possibility. But I agree with what Marissa said. You want to be an informed consumer. You want to make sure that you ask all of the questions, that you know the terms of the contract, keeping in mind that that is a contract between you and that third-party supplier. So Eversource would not be able to intervene if something happened that you were unhappy with. We do encourage our commercial and industrial customers as well as our municipalities to shop around for an electric supplier because it definitely can save the consumer money.
Great, thank you. Okay, I have one more that came in through email. So if anybody has a question they care to enter into the Q&A portal, now is the time to please get it in there while we're all together here this afternoon. This last one is a pretty easy one. What kind of resources are available at the company for questions and/or concerns? As Ann mentioned, you have account executives on the commercial, industrial, and municipal side. Your community relations specialist is always available to you as municipal officials and public officials, and we can serve as resource navigators for you inside of the company and make sure that we find the appropriate subject matter expert to get you the answers that you need and you deserve. So that is the answer to that one. I don't see any more through email here. Let me check the Q&A portal one more time. Matt, do you see any questions coming through that I may be missing?
No, I don't see any. Looks like it's clear there.
All right, very good. Well, we will leave it at that. We are committed to being a resource for you and to you moving forward here as we get closer to July 1st and after the rate adjustment takes effect. We wish you all well. Stay cool this week, and we will be sure to stay in touch. And we thank you all very much for joining us. And I also want to thank our panelists and our friends internally here at Eversource for doing a great job as always. So thank you all. Have a great week, and we'll see you all real soon. Take care.